Hello and welcome to the November update from Dean Park Station. It's work at the east end of the layout this month, and in particular the bridge mouth and the retaining walls on this section here, which is taking a lot of time to think through and then manufacture. So progress may appear slow, but I'm working flat out to try and get as much as I can done in the time that I've got. Hope you enjoy the video, and as always I look forward to your comments. Back in the October update I covered this card mock-up that's going to be on the bridge at the east end of the station. I was happy with the overall clearance width-wise and height-wise, so I've stuck with the same kind of dimensions, and I've started to mock one up using plasticard or styrene. What I've got here is, for the pillars, I've got 2mm thick pieces of styrene glued together, and there's 4 there, so that's 8mm, and then I've covered them in the brick plastic sheet, the embossed sheet. If I can show you the back of this, what I did first of all is I had a panel along the back and then 2 panels down the side. I then glued the uprights to that to kind of hold those two together. As you can see, the join there being held by these, and then I started decorating it with the embossed plastic sheet in the shape of a Flemish bond brick, and I've done that on both pillars, as you can see there, and then I've added a strip of brick there that sticks out on 2mm card as plastic card as well, and the same at the top. And then I've made this panel pattern from another sheet of card stuck onto the embossed sheet, so it sticks out a little bit to give it this depth. And I've got squares of brickwork just to slide in there or set in there and glue to complete the look. The pillars at the side have not been glued in place yet because I've got these capping stones. Now, I didn't have that on the prototype, but I thought it was a bit bland. So what I've done there is I've taken a 2mm thick piece of plastic card and a 1mm thick, and I've glued them together. So you see the kind of ledge there, just get a bit of ornate pattern, which is often seen on these the bridges, especially the Victorian era. And that will be placed in there, and it's been cut at a corner, so it goes right the way around the corner. And then the parapet wall buttress, it's not got a bit of brickwork on there, I'll show you why in a minute, will sit on there, which sits proud of the top bit there, so it allows me to get a capping stone in there and then capping along the top. So the buttresses will sit slightly up from the top of the parapet wall. The reason I've not put a piece of plastic card on the side there is because when I put it on, I wanted to wrap all the way around into this bit as well, so there's no exposed card on the side there, because at the back I've added detail as well. Now the middle piece, the middle section, is just the embossed brick straight onto the plastic card template, if you like, the frame, and these here have been stuck on using 1.5mm plastic card with the embossed brick on top, just to give it that kind of the recessed look there, because this obviously is part of the parapet buttress. Okay, so that's taken me all week, in amongst other things, and when that sits in there it will hopefully look the part. Got a bit of trimming and whatnot to do, but I'll put that one there as well. Now I'll have one that's similar to this at the other end of the bridge before it goes up to the incline. It'll be narrower, but there so far you can see what I've managed to cobble together. This is my first attempt at scratch building using plastic card, so I'm kind of feeling my way with it, but I'm quite enjoying using it. It's quite simple to cut and it's easy to sand down. What I'm using to sand them down with is these Albion alloy sanding sticks. Got that from my local hobby shop. You get them on Hattons and various places, but Albion alloys, they're ideal for just taking the rough edges off when you did the cutting with the plastic card. Don't try and cut all the way through with your blade using plastic card. Score it and then snap the rest off. So it's a kind of score and snap method, which is recommended in all the kind of techniques in the magazines and whatnot. So I just kind of adopted that and it works brilliantly. This will all be brickwork. This section here at the bottom will be a kind of almost a plinth, a concrete plinth, which would run inside the roof of the bridge. So that might be picked out in grey, and the rest of the brick courses will be picked out with the stuff that I've used already, which I showed you in the last one, and that will be decorated to match that, and obviously a bit of weathering on there as well. Okay, so if I put it in place, take these bits off, try and put it in place, just there like that. That's how it will look when it's done. So we're starting to take shape here. It's very slow progress. I've got 3 panels of the retaining wall to do before it, the retaining wall steps out. That takes time as well, especially with, I've now decided to do the parapet walls after feedback from my last video. So hopefully you found that useful, and I'll just keep going and plugging away with it. This area here where I've laid black rectangles out are for planning a kind of housing complex. However, it's not really sitting well with me. These rectangles are actual size of the Hornby detached 2-storey houses, and I'm finding that I'm struggling to fit them all in with gardens, pavements, etc, etc. So I'm probably going to scrap the idea of putting houses here. It looks like it's just been an afterthought. I mean, they're just laid down in place. I'm just mucking around with them just now. There've been too narrow a gap there for the front garden, the road. It would look very crammed and just, tried to be squeezed in. So what I'm thinking now is I'm going to have a builder's yard here with a warehouse, scratch built warehouse, like Wix or MKM or Dewson's or something like that, where there's the yard fenced off with all the equipment in it, and the stores, the pallets of stuff, and then maybe a road disappearing and more kind of factory industrial units here. That's the kind of initial thought I've got in my head. I'll see how it pans out, but I don't want anything butted up too close to the rails. Obviously the industrial fence will run there, which is different from, say, a house. You don't want to have a house that distance from the rail, but if it's a warehouse, noise level is not really an issue. So this is the kind of initial thought here, fenced off, and in here the kind of warehouse, access road, fencing, industrial units, maybe a bit of derelict land as well. So that's the kind of thought there, and I'll maybe run a fence along the back there to kind of separate the industrial area through the grassed area to the houses. So that's kind of dancing about in my head now. I've kind of moved away from the housing just purely because of the space, and to get it to look like a realistic housing area I'm really short of space here with all the angles and stuff. Okay, that's it for the November update. I hope you've enjoyed it and managed to glean something of what I'm trying to achieve here at the east end of the layout. My goal really for the rest of the year is to try and get the retaining wall from here right the way along to the bridge opening in place, and also to get the opening at the bottom of the incline there where the trains come out from underneath the race section, and work on some retaining wall there. And then I'll focus moving up towards the landscaping with the retaining wall here. It takes a lot of time to measure, plan, test, cut, paint, weather, fit, find a way of fitting it so it can be, easily removed if I need to get underneath to fix that signal in the race section. So certain sections will be removable, and that takes a bit of time to kind of have a think through as to how to attach it all. So really, progress might appear slow, but I'm working flat out to try and get as much as I can done here at the east end of the layout, which is this winter's kind of focus. Hope you enjoyed it, and I'll see you soon.